I bought one of the most talked about OnePlus phones. I had to buy it for two reasons. I wanted to see the hype it created, especially around the partnership with Hasselblad. And two, I always loved OnePlus phones. I had the 3 and 6T before. A newer OnePlus was always around the corner. If you're considering a new phone, chances are you're thinking of the OnePlus 9 or the Pro. In this video, I'm hoping I can help you make a better informed decision. This is Ben from Technologically Curious, and in this video, I will give you my review of the OnePlus 9 and why I chose not to go with the Pro. I just hit 1,000 subscribers this week, and I really appreciate my viewers for subscribing. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe and hit that like button. And please comment below and let me know what content you'd like to see. When considering a new phone, I'm always of the opinion that most of the new phones are good. We all look for that perfect phone. It doesn't mean that the rest are not good. They all have great specs. They all have great designs. They are fast with good software experience. You know where I'm going. 25% faster than other phones, 120 Hz over 90 Hz. Would that really make a difference? The only way you can tell your new phone is superior or inferior is when you have another phone to compare it with. If you look at most of the new phones in isolation, chances are you're most likely going to like the phone you buy. See, most of us buy a phone every once in 2 years. So any phone would be an amazing upgrade. And that's what I felt coming from an iPhone 11 Pro Max. What it really comes down to is the value you get for the money you spend. That's where the OnePlus 9 comes in, and the reason why I considered the non-Pro version. Just for a bit, let me stop and let the phone do the talking. Comparing 9 with 9 Pro, some of the main additions to the Pro version is a larger screen by 0.2 inches with an LTPO panel that can adapt a refresh rate that goes down to 1 Hz. You also get a Quad HD screen over Full HD, 50 over 15 watts of wireless charging, a curved over flat screen, and the camera specs are almost similar with some upgrades on the Pro version. The 48 megapixel camera gets an optical stabilizer and an extra telephoto lens. Now, I haven't used the Pro version, but would I notice or feel like I'm missing out on something? At least I wouldn't. Well, I would have preferred the Quad HD screen. It would have been nice to have it. But everything that really matters is identical. Same Snapdragon 888 chip, same battery capacity, same 65 watts warp charging, 5G capability, and Hasselblad camera software. So in other words, performance is pretty identical. But I'll tell you the one obvious difference that I find between the Pro and the non-Pro version. $400. That's how much extra you pay for the Pro version. Let's just look at the phone in isolation for a bit. The specs for a $700 phone is quite impressive. The latest Snapdragon 888, 8 gigs of RAM, 4500 mAh battery, 65 watts warp charging, a triple camera setup, a fast in-display fingerprint sensor, 4K and 8K video recording, and I'm not done. No notch, just a hole punch, and not to forget Oxygen OS we all love. That is the closest you can get to stock Android. And if you pair that with a 120 Hz fluid display, you get a great experience. I can't explain how satisfying it is to have a high refresh rate on the phone after coming from a 60 Hz iPhone. You need to use it to believe it. So, if you think about it, how many of these features make it to the latest iPhone? Oh yes, how can I forget this? You actually get a charger with the OnePlus phones. Can't believe this is something you have to mention nowadays in reviews. That's why I always loved OnePlus phones. It was always the flagship killer. And now you probably get a fair idea why I chose the 9 and not the Pro. It was always about the value. Some of the advantages 9 has over the Pro is a slightly better battery life. I don't have the Pro to make real life comparisons, but from the other reviews out there, many say the 9 has a better battery life because of the full HD screen. I prefer the flat screen to a curved screen. I know the OnePlus 9 curved screens have a better technology to reject unwanted touches, but there is something about the flat screen and the aesthetics that I prefer. The design is pretty good in my opinion, which still has that ringer switch we all love. It has a plastic frame compared to the Pro version that uses aluminum. But because the phone has a plastic frame, fingerprints are not easily noticeable. Whichever way, like all other phones I own, I put on a cover. I got the Sandstone OEM case from OnePlus. I just love the fit and finishes of OnePlus OEM cases. A OnePlus phone review is not complete without talking about charging speeds. The OnePlus 9 and the Pro has 65 watts charging speeds. That translates to 100% in just 30 minutes. That's insane. How many mainstream companies out there can offer this speed? Not too many. After the almost stock Android experience that Oxygen OS offers, charging speeds has always drawn me towards the OnePlus phones. And the OnePlus 9 series just continues to push boundaries when it comes to charging speeds. I have to say, the battery life with 4800 milliamps is quite good. It isn't a tank like the 11 Pro Max that I have, but it surely makes up with warp charge. I don't have the exact numbers on screen time, but quite often I get through the day with 20 to 30% to spare. I wouldn't worry about battery life, not when you have a warp charger that can give you hours of battery life with just 10 to 15 minutes of charge. Okay, it's time to talk about the whole hype around Hasselblad and OnePlus. So, in recent years, OnePlus cameras have been good, but not to the level of the Galaxies and the iPhones. OnePlus's collaboration with Hasselblad was their attempt to bridge that gap and be a serious contender to Samsung and Apple. But you should know, as of now, Hasselblad is not contributing to camera hardware. It might change in the future. For now, the benefit of this collaboration with the OnePlus 9 series phones is only through software, and especially through improved color science. Now, I'm not an expert at observing photos or videos in great detail. I'm just like you who wants to take a good looking photo or video to capture a moment. If the picture or video I take looks good, I'm happy. If it doesn't, we try adding filters. I don't have any newer phones to compare the OnePlus 9 with, like the iPhone 12 or the Samsung S21. But I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max and I always considered it to be a good camera, at least in early 2020. So here are some sample shots unfiltered. You can definitely tell that the OnePlus 9 shots just pop more. Clearly, the improved color science from Hasselblad is doing what it is meant to do. I think it's a great step in the right direction if OnePlus has to compete in the camera department. Okay, so let's look at some of the nearest competition, the iPhone 12 and the Samsung S21. I wouldn't say the lesser expensive iPhone 12 is comparable to the OnePlus 9, at least not in the specs department. iPhones still use a 60Hz display when all other companies have long gone past 90Hz, not to mention slower charging speeds, the infamous notch, and a smaller storage capacity. Unless if you're upgrading the storage capacity, which obviously will increase the price and make it incomparable to the OnePlus 9. The Samsung S21 seems to be a closer rival in the specs department, but the price is a tad bit higher, which gives the OnePlus 9 just a slight edge. See, at the end of the day, it comes down to value and price. Like I said, all new phones are good. And if that's the case, you want to go for the phone that gives you the value for the money you spend. If the OnePlus was lacking in areas that really mattered, like performance, battery life, charging speeds, display screen quality, software experience, then I would say the price is not always the most important factor. But the OnePlus 9 excels in all these areas. So why spend the extra $400 for a phone like the 9 Pro that gives you a slightly better camera and screen that you may not notice? I know I wouldn't. This was Ben from Technologically Curious, and this was my review of the OnePlus 9. I'll catch you later in my next video.